People who waited until marriage to have sex. What was your wedding night like? Not safe for work. We took 167 bobby pins out of my hair, then fell asleep. I had had surgery 3 weeks prior to our wedding to remove a testicular cancer, and was also in my first week of chemo to wipe out the rest of the cancer. We made an effort to have sex after the longest day of my life. I could barely stand during the wedding ceremony. I ended up busting a stitch near my crotch and bleeding everywhere. 7/10 though. Would bust the stitch again. 9 years cancer-free now, and 2 kids to boot. Yay. Not great, to be honest. It had been an extremely long day with the traveling, wedding, reception and everything involved. By the time we got to the hotel, we were exhausted. We made an effort because, hey, we finally can, right? But it didn't go well. The next day after some sleep was much better. I completely undressed myself first, then undressed her, removed the boba pins from her hair, took a bath, watched her take a bath, and I fell asleep. Awesome. Our Airbnb had a 2-person tub. All we did was cuddle nude, have sex, relax in the tub, and eat for 5 days straight. I think we put clothes on once to go to a local pizza joint. Packed in most of our food. Premature. Hopefully you're referring to your ejaculatory performance and not your bride. Really good. He was pretty nervous, so I asked if he wanted to shower with me. It was a good warm-up that got him to relax and let us both freshen up. After that, we had a really good time. Basically we kind of held hands awkwardly, then we helped each other get undressed. She looked so cute. I didn't know what to do, neither did she, so we held each other's private parts and just smiled awkwardly all the more. It's been 9 years since that night. God, I wish I understood where to find the clitoris. Nothing like I expected, better than I'd hoped. So not me, but my mother-in-law is a midwife that owns her own practice. She delivers exclusively Amish and Mennonite babies at home. She has a reoccurring problem that she gets calls about once or twice a year. This problem is usually called into her office by the mother of a recently married young woman who is having trouble conceiving her first baby. My mother-in-law schedules these visits as birds and the bees appointments and will meet with the young couple. As you might have guessed by now, the newly married couple in this situation regularly has had little sexual education, which results in my mother-in-law having to explain the difference between vaginal and anal sex. Most times, she said the couple has no problem conceiving a child once they know which hole to use. Pretty great, actually. We did it, went and soaked in a hot tub afterwards, and then we just talked and laughed while I took out the 4,000 bobby pins she had in her hair. The first time was quick, but we were young so his recovery rate was fairly quick. We ended up having 4 sessions that night. It was really quite lovely. It turns out he had erectile dysfunction and that was probably one of the reasons he insisted on waiting until marriage. We were both pretty tired and my partner had experienced some sexual assault before, so there was a lot of anxiety around sex. We just hung out and cuddled naked together and didn't have sex our first night. It was really nice to be together. Slow, patient, and wonderful. I was 26, my wife almost 25. Both completely clueless. My wife was nervous because she didn't know what to expect and says to this day my brother and my dad always act like it hurts so badly to get hit in the junk. I was afraid of accidentally hurting you. I didn't really know my way around down there. First night, we spent basically 3 hours doing foreplay. All the many things we had never done together. Seeing each other naked, touching each other all over, and kissing. We had done exactly 2 pecks on the lips before our wedding day, so we enjoyed getting used to making out and passionately kissing. Felt each other all over for the first time. It was incredibly slow and easygoing. I got her off, but we didn't actually do any penetration because it was hurting her. And she didn't know what to do with me. We laugh/joke that she orgasmed our first time and every time after, but me as the man didn't get any the first night. Kind of backwards from normal stories. It took us until our 3rd or 4th night to actually do it the normal way. But we had so much fun and enjoyed learning about the other and warming up to it slowly, and neither of us have any regrets. We just took our time and learned our way through the awkward together. It didn't go well. It was too painful for her. It was maybe 6 to 8 weeks before we successfully had sex and rarely after that. I don't recommend waiting until after the wedding to discover sex is painful for one of the parties. That night was quite painful for me. I had to tap out and even bled. Our rhythm way off, but we giggled and enjoyed things anyway. The next morning though? We were quick studies and got things figured out much better, ended up coming simultaneously for our first real attempt. We had lots of fun continuing to figure things out together for the honeymoon. There was an indescribable, immediate bond after sex for the first time, too. A mix of vulnerability and total trust, I'd say. No regrets. We watched Star Trek the motion picture and crashed. We were exhausted and we knew her family was going to try and break in, which they totally did. Try that is, I changed the locks that morning, and didn't want our time ruined. We waited till we were on our honeymoon and could enjoy it. And boy howdy did we. I was hoping for someone to say, Fast and Furious. We couldn't do it the night of the wedding because we are Catholic and she was fertile that night, and we didn't want to have a baby right away. So we had to wait 4 days for her to become infertile, by which time we were on our honeymoon. On the actual wedding night, we slept naked together, the first time we saw each other nude, which was awesome, and then woke up in the morning and got breakfast in bed and played 2-player cards against humanity. We lost to Rando Cardration. For our actual first time, on our honeymoon, she was terrified, because it had been built up into this big thing, in no small part by me, and she didn't feel adequate to the expectations. Obviously, it was all over in, if memory serves, 2 thrusts, or about 4 seconds. I completely expected this and had tried to communicate that, but she was still surprised, and quite relieved. We practiced a lot during the rest of the honeymoon, and then the next several years of our marriage. It took her a while to feel okay about sex. It took me a longer while to feel okay about the hard time she had enjoying sex. Eventually, we became okay at sex. Smile, we're very happy together and have some lovely kids. 10th anniversary this year. I assume this is pretty much how it works for most people? Nobody starts out great at sex, right? We just started figuring it out at age 24, when we married, instead of 20 or whatever age Reddit considers normal, and we figured it out together. My husband and I waited for religious reasons. Dated for 5 years. Like another commenter, we had done enough making out, groping, dry humping, etc. that when wedding night came we were both ready to go. It was great. Married 11 years and it's still great. It was awkward yet wonderful, tired from the long day and travel yet eager to enjoy each other. So tired left the room key dangling from the door all night. Next day was spectacular as was rest of the week. 2 19-year-olds like rabbits in the wild, yet it was first time for both. Really effing good. While neither of us had had sex, we had discussed everything beforehand, made sure we were both knowledgeable on issues of consent, anatomy, and arousal, and agreed to take it as slow and careful as needed to avoid causing discomfort. While we learned and grew together and now get much more out of it, we both really enjoyed our first night and have had a very intense and active marriage since. Not great to be honest. I had some experience beforehand, but my wife didn't. My wife was really nervous because a friend got it in her head that it would be painful. After a very long day, we got to the hotel and after a fair bit of foreplay and trying, the power went out. We decided to call it a night. The following months were filled with a lot of crying. And it's okays. She was just too tense and stressed to let me get in there for a good 4 months. We tried regularly and when it didn't happen, we used other means to make things pleasurable. Eventually it happened and we both really enjoy it, but there's still a lingering tenseness that still makes it hard to get in there 8 years later. Oddly, I was raised atheist but waited till marriage. My husband, who was raised in an almost cult-like Christian church, was not a virgin. I think I was partner 6 or 7. Always found that kind of funny. But it did help make the first time less awkward as one of us knew what they were doing. But we weren't able to have sex as our first night as a married couple. After our courthouse wedding, we went to a high-end burger restaurant and husband ordered the shrimp burger. I told him not to but he did anyways. We get to our hotel room and he spends the night puking in the bathroom while I make fun of him, lots of I told you so, and watch TV. He's bald and at one point I asked if he needed me to hold his hair back. Through gags I heard a small frick you. I still make the hair joke when he pukes.